Just about every Minecraft speedrun attempt has focused on accomplishing the exact same goal for over a decade, killing the Ender Dragon as fast as possible. If you zoom in on any single snapshot in time, you'll find this as the one challenge the game's best players want to solve. In the present setting, it's their main focus in several shapes and forms. Even if you go back 500, 1000, or 2500 days, we see a distinctly different version, but still the same flavor of speedrun. How about if we go back even further? Keep going, and stop. This is not the Minecraft we're familiar with. Far from it, it's got just a fraction of what we're used to, a nostalgically simple color palette, charmingly simplistic terrain, no sprinting, and yep, no Ender Dragon. Welcome to the world of pre-release Minecraft. While most folks are busy surviving their first nights, or toying around with rudimentary redstone, or creating a replica model of, the Titanic, there's still a niche group of players set on setting record times in something. But what could their main focus be if not a hypothetical boss at the end of the game? Motivated in part by the abundance of speedrun interests in other games, a burgeoning yet still quite small group of runners focused their novice eyes on Minecraft, started digging and kept digging, until diamonds. These blue gems instantly became the end goal upon their introduction. I mean, just one look at the old diamond texture gives off a feeling of finality, a source of digital status that at the time could only be matched by, Outrageous Builders Club on Roblox. Swedish Game Pro certainly thought so because on October 16th of 2010, he figured that just obtaining diamonds wasn't the end goal. He wanted to get them as fast as he could possibly manage. In glorious 240p, he starts as you would expect an Alpha 1.1.2 playthrough to begin, punching down a tree for 5 wood and crafting a wooden pickaxe to bridge the gap to a stone one. Not long after, Swedish Game Pros initiates a play so daring that it spawned a movement that's presence and impact carries on to this very day. A singular maneuver that some speedrun historians, still enamored in debate about this very moment, give the delicate title of first ever deliberate Minecraft speedrun strategy: digging straight down. To the shock of many spectators, this crucial move gets him to such a low Y level that he can overlap the tasks of smelting iron in a furnace and strip mining for diamonds. Shortly thereafter, he puts his newly crafted iron pickaxe to use by exposing diamonds hiding behind stone, mining them in a world's first time of 3 minutes and 24 seconds. This sort of thing was immensely puzzling for a few onlookers. They had never seen something so brazen, quick, or low resolution, somehow. The only precaution he took was crafting torches to light up his strip mine, which is pretty silly. Like, what's stopping him from just braving the caves without light from a few time and resource wasting torches he didn't need to craft? Oh, I see now. Despite being played on an Apple II running on 4 AA batteries, this speedrun made history as the very first of its kind for Minecraft. Or was it? Because, slotted at the top of Swedish Game Pro's comment section is SF17K, who claims to have attempted a speedrun of his own a few days prior to October 16th, skipping a few steps to obtain a diamond pickaxe. He suggests such a run could be done without torches if you have a good enough monitor, for obvious reasons. There's no video proof of this run online, but there is for his follow-up, tackling the diamond speedrun, though really the only thing of note about this run is how few things of note there are. SF finds iron off spawn and doesn't have to move any bit to dig into coal, then diamonds at 2 minutes and 59 seconds. Have we really reached peak optimization of this category already? Well, he does follow up this run with a 3-second time cut later that same day, and that run does have a bit of actual compelling strategy to it, for the most part. But his route on the whole is pretty linear, even I could do it handily. Well, okay, maybe it's not as easy as I thought. And time. 3:15? That's not too bad. Hi, Creeper. With diamonds here to stay, this challenge is setting up to be the flagship Minecraft speedrun for the foreseeable future. It'll pop up in a few different forms going forwards. The good, the bad, and the AntVenom. In the meantime, there's other folks on the hunt for items and goals worth rushing. One such person, Sashoso-Sion, decides to dig a few blocks past where SF dug and reaches bedrock. Minecraft beaten in 4 minutes? Well, not exactly, but I appreciate the enthusiasm. A whole new host of challenges are waiting just on the horizon into 2011 as we officially enter the era of Minecraft beta, with its additions in the months to come bringing rise to a whole host of specialized sub-communities. redstone, PvP, building, and tucked away in the corner, speedrunning. In a now long-dead thread on the Speed Demos archive forums, we see Swedish game pros under the alias Flaming Mage, bringing up SF17K's October Diamond runs not as reason to seek revenge, but as opportunity to challenge other folks to even more speedrun tasks. How about reaching Bedrock, they comment. So we know how that one goes, so maybe it's not the ultimate speedrun we've been looking for. Nihilist chimes in soon after. Diamonds feels pretty arbitrary. It seems clear to me that the best conclusion would be to ride a pig. Much more difficult and rewarding speedrun there. How creative. There is nothing difficult about this challenge other than not going crazy resetting for the perfect spawn, a nearby surface dungeon with a saddle and pigs on deck. These things are so interesting to look back on. In the modern day, we have so many structures we take for granted, a few of them providing actual challenges and objectives, others serving as mediocre loot drive-thrus, and a few simply forgettable. But seeing these bad boys, the only structure that generates in these old versions, it's hard to get used to. Well, cool, we have the saddle. Now we just need pigs. How hard can that be? Huh. It definitely isn't the end goal of the game, at least I don't think, but this run perfectly summarizes the type of brainstorming going on. Weird bite-sized challenges starting to get their own tiny leaderboards. Swedish game pros came back a few days later with 12 distinct ideas, imploring others to try them out. A few of these we've already dealt with, riding a pig, finding diamonds, reaching AntVenom. Some of the others, they might be fun to compete in, but they're menial tasks on their own. This one's interesting. SGP instructs the player to craft a golden apple, calling it hard as hell to do. Not only is it hard, it's straight up impossible. There's no way to obtain apples in this version, not from leaves or chests. Golden apples you can get from dungeons, but that's not really crafting them. If just obtaining them is the challenge, then we've invented far and away the most luck-based thing to do in this entire list. AntVenom had an entire series dedicated to finding a golden apple, and it took him just a little over 4 years to do. These last few actually seem kind of fun and interesting. Reaching the height limit caught my attention because that value is a lowly 128 blocks in pre-release, baby stuff compared to the mountains we see generating today. Even terrain in beta tries its best to pierce that limit whenever possible, and while I was resetting for a saddle and pigs, that's exactly what happened. Mountain spawn, grab a few logs, and height limit in 32 seconds. 60 blocks above sea level never felt so vast before. The interesting thing is that even amidst all these ideas, seemingly not a single person took it upon themselves to run these categories. No TNT crafting, height limiting, or record playing. For now, we're stuck with a bunch of empty ideas going unplayed. It feels pointless, but as TJP said in this very thread, keep in mind that Minecraft is a sandbox, so until the new adventure mode comes out, we have to make our own casual speedrunning goal. That means that everything is arbitrary, so let's arbitrate. And arbitrate they did. With no achievements or endgame, this is the ultimate completionist challenge. Obtaining every item as of Beta 1.2 requires that the player get 70 blocks, 107 items, and in that mix mine 83 iron, 50 gold, and 46 diamonds. This doesn't even factor in the straight up rare items like aforementioned golden apples, which you'd have to search dozens of dungeons for, or slime balls, with slimes about as uncommon as a Maryland driver using their turn signal. Two schools of thought formed around how to tackle this challenge. School 1, backed by Anonymous, suggests it might be a good idea to use an external mapping tool that could help with the hard to find stuff like dungeons or new biomes. School 2, backed by SGP, says nope, nuh-uh, that's just a fancy way to cheat to get a leg up. At that point, why not just give yourself all the items you need? With no agreed upon way to approach this Goliath challenge, a user named Greg Speed figures a compromise. Why not just give everyone the same seed to play on and see who can get every item the quickest? This is the first ever ideation of what would eventually become the set seed subsection, a way to optimize a world for a specific task before in seed scouting and after in routing for the maximum outcome. For a challenge this monumental at this point in the game's history, it's the perfect compromise. Scout out all the stuff that's usually up to extremely scarce chance and let the runners route everything together like a giant puzzle. It's genius, and with the right world seed could turn this project into Minecraft's premier speedrun. Too bad nobody was around to read his suggestion. Yeah, even early Minecraft folks had short attention spans and would hop from topic to topic. Nothing ever did come of this all items fiasco, attempted runs or otherwise. At least it created some good discourse. Out from the glare of the nauseating lights in the brainstorm chamber, other players kept on with their own little speedrun ideas. Twin Cannon protested Notch and the supposed rotting Minecraft community by digging themselves into a pit in just 7 seconds. Fun. Now this one might just be my favorite. It's a speedrun competition with a call for anyone to participate and send in their own runs to the challenge leaderboard. Okay, so here's the deal. You've got to complete the challenge requirements as fast as possible, then mail it to this address. If you got the fastest time, we'll put your video on the net as the challenge winner. This week's challenge: find iron, smelt and craft it into a bucket, then fill it with water, with 9/6 placeholder time being just short of 4 minutes. Well, I want my run on the net. I'll be real, I took this as seriously as I possibly could. I reset for the optimal cave, I dug a water funnel to enable easy egress, I lucked into the vein of exactly 3 iron, and watered that bucket in just 1 minute and 37 seconds. I've sent in my run submission and expect my video to appear on the net any day now. From this point in 2011, we see a distinct veer into a new direction for Minecraft challenges. Up until this point, it was the Minecraft world itself lobbing the greatest obstacles at players. The few who conquered that landscape built creations to share with others, but now some wanted to construct their own challenges for players. Welcome in the age of the adventure map. Carefully curated courses swept the Minecraft forums in a few short months, all characterized by a limited block palette, but in turn immense creativity and puzzles. Maps like Escapecraft and Desert Temple were the first to feature such complex strategy for the time that players circled back after their first completions to find faster solutions. Though the mere nature of these escape room-esque maps is that once the fastest routing for a puzzle gets found, there's not much more to do. As Swedish Game Pros put it back in January, there should be an obstacle course made specifically for speedrunning. A little music, please? Minecraft's Edge is a map released by Dr. Kriz in May of 2011, garnering quick attention for its movement puzzles that put the player at the very edge of their parkouring abilities throughout the length of the course. Naturally, the map takes heavy inspiration from the game with a name that's just 7 letters different, and while the movement is not directly mirrored, the flow between obstacles is expertly crafted for the non-sprinting speeds at the time, coupling with an intricate route that maintains flow for up to 30 minutes in a pretty tiny footprint. But a few folks did not subscribe to that recommended playtime. They saw the movement and routing of other players and thought, we can do a bit better than this. So within the displayed rule set of don't modify blocks and don't leave the fences, they scoured the map for nifty time saves, and even grander than that, possible shortcuts between buildings. One such skip was found off spawn within days of the map's release, where if the player chooses to head to the left of the second water drop, a precise leap of faith and some fence work lets them skip half of the course. Skirting the rules a little bit, yes, though a solution to do this without outfencing the fences was also quickly found. This skip was monumental in its own right, but it's the second of these ultra shortcut-esque moves that, if you know where the finish is, makes a complete mockery of this platformer. A player going by the name Cosmo sees the winding maze of jumps right before the final minecart rail and decides instead to cross the gap to his right and land on the minecart carriage's route, with the map's own redstone circuitry providing a lip just large enough to make the jump while still abiding by every rule in the book. Whether or not he was the first to find these two skips is lost to history, but the first completed run demonstrating them, a final time of 2:22, definitely isn't. His playthrough is incredibly innovative, but it falls victim to a myriad of mistakes and moments of hesitation along the way. Cosmo blames this lag in movement precision on the actual lag he suffered throughout the run, as well as being a bit under the weather, saying he'll do it mistake-free when he feels better. But he never did return to the course, and after a few weeks the map had actually gotten so popular that its player base of thousands didn't either. They were too busy playing the sequel. So, a laggy and mistake-filled run with obvious time saves on the table is this speedrun map's final legacy, huh? Meeberman was not gonna stand for that. Vintage profile pick and all, expert at making fake viruses for the Mac, and now, the next runner-up to bring perfect movement to Minecraft's Edge. He approached the map in a technical fashion, and with way fewer mistakes and hesitation, bested Cosmo's run by a whopping 15 seconds on August 25th. Then later that same day, actually, you know what? Meeberman, take it away from me. Any apprehension before jumps in this run is non-exist. Well, okay, just barely in a few niche spots existent. You just don't see the no-look jumps one after the other like Meeberman was doing, other than in the actual Mirror's Edge. I loaded up this map to do some attempts of my own to fully appreciate Meeberman's run and maybe find some optimizations, but after that first water drop I noticed a barrier that just wasn't there in those runners' videos. It didn't stop me from doing the fence jump and I thought nothing of it, but as I reached the minecart carriage I realized, well hang on, they patched out the skips, didn't they? As it turns out, yep, on May 27th, 2 months before Meeberman attempted any of his runs. Considering that this updated map was the only one you could download from the official thread, it means that either he got the map in May and let it sit on his desktop for 2 months, or he got it from a second-hand site that no longer exists. I hope he avoided any of those Mac viruses in the process. So actually, my bad, Minecraft's Edge is not the first Minecraft speedrunning map. It's the first speedrunning unless you come up with a cool shortcut that I didn't intend for, in which case my band-aid fix will stop you in your tracks map. Kidding, of course, but in my mind and heart, Meeberman is a hero, and I hope his strive for perfection and 3-bit memory cell project took him far in life. You know, aside from that, there wasn't much speedrunning going on in the summer of 2011. Adventure maps saw a burst of attention as we got quite familiar with, but the challenges people were so excited about earlier stagnated. My tiny leaderboards. Something I haven't touched on yet is a phenomenon we're all too familiar with in the modern day. Foul play, in the form of cheaters, X-rayers, and even just the suspicion someone cheated. Armchair detectives felt the need to scrutinize every little detail of runs they figured were too lucky. Even back to the SF17K days with his diamond runs, people were calling them scripted. The actually cheated runs were a bit more blatant, like take a look at the supposed gold speedrun world record. Hey, that's a fun challenge nobody's ever thought of before. A perfectly legitimate and not at all tool-assisted run. Other than silly stuff like this, the speedrun wave had hit the rocks for a bit, almost as if everyone was waiting for a big announcement. Everyone, Ender Dragon. Notch had been hinting at the addition of some sort of dragon boss for well over a year at this point, so it wasn't much of a surprise when this dev screenshot of a cube-laden sky serpentine made the rounds on social media in October. The dragon, along with the dimension she calls home, were added in what would go on to be official release version 1.0.0, but less than apt for a sandbox game like Minecraft is that these additions were branded top to bottom in an air of unequivocal finality. The end dimension, the Ender Dragon, and an end credit sequence when you slay the boss. I wonder how much of this was a product of Notch being way too hellbent on the game having a goal. Even back in 2009 when he was plotting out survival mode, he felt a great need to implement some sort of endpoint. Kill a big evil mob, make the most money in a month. 2 years removed from this post, it was quite clear that the second option did not fit the mold for Minecraft, but for the sandbox game that it is and was prized to be up to this point, the first option also had a lack of footing. This made the eventual product of End Dimension 1.0 almost unruly, kind of mythical in nature. Stripped from its later added endgame functionality of the outer islands and dragon respawning, it served as a one-stop shop to escape the free-for-all nature that previously encompassed everything in the overworld and nether. Early promotional material perpetuated this idea with a sort of call to the wild, the end as a place to leave the items of yesterday behind to face a true, brutal challenge. Even down to the design of the stronghold, the concierge of the End Dimension Inn, which early adventurers would be forgiven to have ignored entirely because Eyes of Ender pointed directly to the portal room instead of the stronghold's start, basically telling players, oh, pay no attention to the rest of this place, all it really has is bookshelves. Oh, and I guess apples too. So, with the ultimate objective at their doorstep, what did speedrunners do when faced with the light of the End portal? Well, in 2012, the first full year of Minecraft's official release, before hopping in, they took one quick look through the hallways. The movement started by players in late 2010 saw a new renaissance, as user-created speedrun challenges saw the majority of attention for the time being. Actual speedrunning maps with a new sprint mechanic, item collectathons, someone even speedran crafting a golden apple once a recipe was finally added. Swedish game pros would be so proud. The game had changed exponentially since the early days of first night survival tutorials and the 404 challenge, but within this incredibly thin slice of Minecraft, counterintuitive to its underlying concept, time was taken to hand off the torch to the future of speedrunning. Plenty of players had killed the Ender Dragon in their own worlds by the time Seto Sorcerer produced the very first speedrun route for reaching the credits in March of 2012. It shares almost no similarities with the objectives of speedruns before its time, is very clumsy in spots, and straight up abuses a texture pack to transform the carved pumpkin overlay into Samus's visor from Metroid. It also represented the new groundwork for the battle between players, the environment, and the little timers they put on their screens. You can tell a lot about the state of Minecraft speedrunning simply by seeing how this guy has changed throughout the ages. As you may have guessed by now, this timer from the first runs is just here for our convenience. Runners of the time had no way, or at least no care, to put this element on the screen and would just hope a run was fast enough and do the math after the fact to find the total end time. They eventually figured that a timer is pretty handy for this time-dependent activity and stitched on whatever they could find for the job, while many others, like Seto Sorcerer, used the built-in timer effect in Sony Vegas to mirror what their speedrun ancestors did, only now with the added visual. On the doorstep was speedrun-oriented timer software, which could give runners a clue of their pace while in the middle of a run. W split early on, Kazami timer amidst the surge of Japanese runners before a convergence to live split, and finally, the modern speedrun IGT mod for Java Edition. You can take just one look at any of these timers and with no other information have enough context to guess what era a run was played in with pretty good accuracy. Each timer leaves a distinct fingerprint, in its own part shaping the era it helped keep time in. Only one category has endured every one of these eras, and you'd think it would have changed a million times over in that span, but it remains in nearly the exact same state we left it in almost 5,500 days ago. Our old pal, the Diamond Speedrun. This thing has barely ran anymore, overshadowed, understandably, by many other big-time categories. It's now a commodified side attraction, seeing only a handful of new ideas in the time that the once daunting Dragon route has changed 650.359 times over. The category subsection allowing the player the use of structures was solved eons ago, since diamonds spawn in chests on the surface and all you have to do is open it and grab them out of it. The no structures record is our closest link to the runs of Alpha and Beta, but takes on its own identity by utilizing what once killed runs in the past, as a creeper can substitute for a pickaxe just as easily as this category can be substituted for all the ones that came after it. There is no mine a diamond category like was prevalent all the way up until 2017, as the digging has instead been replaced by an archaeological journey to locate the diamond leaderboard itself. If you want to find it, you first have to meet the main any percent run, descend through a narrow hallway, and press a few buttons in the right order to find the last vestige of the movement Swedish Game Pros and Co. started long ago. The leaderboard has no trace of those early runs, as it only catalogs entries from after 1.0. I don't see why we can't merge the two eras because it's not like it would add a lot of runs anyways. So I've gone ahead and isolated all the submissions that mine diamonds, of which there are many, to be able to slot in those first runs to see exactly how they hold up in the modern day, while finally giving them their proper place in the history books. Swedish Game Pros' run, the one that was the first ever of its kind, the one that used torches and like the others couldn't even put the run in speedrun, beats out 16 other submissions to sit proud at 57th place. SF's submission, done just one day later, and which had him so excited to have not only found 13 diamonds, but also 6 mushrooms, finds itself just short of the top 40 all these years later. It's amazing these runs even hold up at all, seeing as a lot of the early others definitely don't. They stand tall, like centuries-old pines in an old-growth forest, but one tree stands far above those two. What's it doing up there? I wanted to talk about this run a lot earlier than this, as no synopsis of Minecraft speedrunning's nascent days is complete without it. I had it all planned out, but as it turns out, this run was holding on to a lot more than the title of hardest to beat and quite frankly most impressive run of its time. Before we depart from this world, I think we're finally ready to talk about AntVenom's 2-minute and 20-second Mine a Diamond speedrun from June of 2011. We took an earlier glance at the Diamond category, the only real organized speedrun effort ever present in beta, and despite its remarkable rise with dozens of submissions flooding in over the months, it can be characterized by just 3 events. Swedish Game Pros' kickstart, SF's improvement, and AntVenom's complete shattering of the category until after the age of sprinting and the Ender Dragon. Whereas the first 2 took years to enter official Minecraft speedrunning historical canon, AntVenom's run stands with his 2 other diamond runs as among the most popular Minecraft videos of the time. It's a pretty impressive run, shaving 30 whole seconds off of just mining a tree and digging straight down. He accomplishes this by being generally fast and using strategies that, if you were to rerun this category today, you'd still find utility in. But is it that transcendental? Were people really so captivated by such a simple route? It seems so, even up to just a few years ago when this thing was finding its way into people's feeds and generating the same types of interest and speculation it did back in 2011. An upload about digging straight down into diamonds has had a greater shelf life than most things made about this game. We know it for how it presents now, an impressively lucky yet certainly of its time playthrough with little resemblance to the antics that people pull off today. That's how the run holds up on its surface, but below that layer is something much less material, yet far more radiant and compelling than anything AntVenom's gameplay could possibly display. Below this layer, and displaced by over a decade, is something that this upload still hosts a viewport to, a portal to a lost world in the form of a long-since removed YouTube feature, the video response. If you're like me, you probably weren't even old enough to get much use out of this feature by the time it was discontinued. The idea, it seems, was pretty simple. Creators uploaded videos, and viewers had the option to publish their own creations in a dedicated feed right below. This in turn made space for a little community hub, a way for viewers and creators alike to feel more a part of the topics at hand while incentivizing additional engagement. It was a good idea in practice, but just wasn't executed correctly, getting pulled once YouTube realized that if you beam a video response to everyone in the city of Seattle, only 3 people would care to click on it. During its neglected lifetime, it fell by the wayside as a niche and quirky social tool, aspects which naturally made it perfectly catered to the early world of Minecraft speedrunning. Threads of challenge invitations, follow-ups to those calls getting obsoleted by responses to those responses. It was a vibrant ecosystem that extends far beyond the scope of anything we've seen on the surface. This is the space that allowed for a video which asked its viewers how fast they could mine diamonds to be met with an answer by AntVenom that is yet to be matched in all of Minecraft Beta's reruns. It's self-creating threads of people sharing their attempts and challenging others. That's the beauty of the video response, but it's also a cautionary tale to the permanence of anything that's to be appreciated on the internet, because if we try to click on any of these branches, there's no trace. There's nothing. What happened to them? Changes on the front end in the form of people deactivating their accounts or privating their video feeds have made these pieces of history inaccessible, dead ends that not even the archives have salvaged. The best case scenario is that the creators still have copies on hand, but I wouldn't hold my breath. This issue plagues so much of early Minecraft media to the point where the video response serves more like a retro viewfinder themed to an abandoned amusement park. For every Let's Play, or self-building house, or Angry Birds theme composed from note blocks, you get a handful of broken thumbnails that must have meant something to some folks at some point in time, but are now just dead. It's not just the videos that have been lost. The playlists, the world files, we're even losing the comments, 20% of all on AntVenom's world record since 2012. It can be argued that nobody was coming back for these comments and that nobody blinked when these runs were privated or when the account that hosted them closed up shop or deactivated or got banned, and that all this means that all of these things were trivial and forgettable. But how can we know for sure? How can we make sense of the history of early Minecraft speedrunning and the early game as a whole if it's missing pieces like an incomplete Lego set? We've already documented one timeline casualty and are only now getting a clue to the cause, as the sole speedrun footage for the map Desert Temple was taken from us mid-production. Did the creator take the video down, or was their account deemed too inactive to take up precious server space? The answer to either of these questions we might never know. Minecraft speedrunning, like the video response, is a deeply social endeavor. To speedrun alone without the intent to share the results or challenge others is still speedrunning, but detached from the unbroken chain that's seen people share challenges and runs with others all the way from day one. Every speedrun wants a friend, it's a shame not to give them one. We've done our fair share of friend giving throughout this timeline, visiting runs and ideas that haven't done a whole lot but sit forgotten since their inception. What's one more video response before we leave this world? How fast can we find and mine diamonds? I have no idea who you are, anonymous video response inquisitor, but I'll do my best to answer this for you. I've built an appreciation for AntVenom's 220 in going back and booting up all these old beta worlds. From that run I did a few months ago through now, the luck just seldom aligns the way it did for him. It's almost comforting in a way. 14 years displaced from the run and a million different runners and categories and Ender Dragon kills later, it changes very little here. We're still contingent on the exact same factors of luck and limitation that made these runs tick in the first place. The luck can't hide forever though. With no timer mod, I'm back to using the exact same mechanisms the Pathfinders used to figure out pace, strictly feel, hope, and the timeline after the fact. I have no idea if my coal or iron mining is on pace or if the furnace smelting split was speedy, but with a run-of-the-mill sequence, some quick smelting, and some fortunate diamonds over a decade in the making, it all feels just fast enough. I can confer with the favorite timing tool of the past, the post-run timeline, and just like they did all those years ago, use it to find what's elapsed, and present my answer to a question whose author might not be around or in a place of care to see it anymore. I hope it was worth the wait. None of this is permanent. Doing the equivalent of a tab page refresh does little to resurrect the missing entries within this archive, and little to preserve the entries that will silently slip away from our view in the months and years to come. But, at the very least, we know of this place. We can at least grasp at what some of its lost contents were like, and we can join in the games it challenged us to play. Someday in the future, our time will also go the way of the video response in the forum thread. The best we can do before that time is enjoy it, preserve history, engage in folly, and make the most of the absurd challenges people share with us. Who knows, by the time today becomes the distant past, maybe we'll have dug up some long-lost treasures that were just a click away here. Maybe our present will be perfectly preserved for later appreciation. And maybe, just maybe, my water bucket speedrun submission will finally make its debut on the net as the competition challenge winner. For now, I'll be waiting.